Okay, so we've got rid of my fantastic artwork here, and now we're focusing on the mind and understanding the mind in performance. And as we know, the mind is one of the most important aspects, but it certainly is the aspect that leads to the majority of our errors as well as the majority of our successes. So what does the distracted mind look like? If we're going to, as I mentioned earlier, going and start to become your own best coach, I want to encourage you to understand the mind and start journaling and going into your own mind. Right, distracted. There are two places, and I'm sure we've heard this, where the mind can go when it's not in focus. It can either go into past events or into what might happen in the future. And the mind does this all the time. In fact, as human beings, we probably spend maybe 1 or 2% of our waking hours focused and in the present and being mindful of what's happening right now, which is ideal in cricket. What do we need to be doing? What is the focus? Watch the ball. But the majority of the time we're thinking about an event that's happened in the past or something that might happen in the future. When the ball is in play and the ball is about to get released, if you're a batsman or you're a bowler and your mind is in an event that happened in the past or thinking about what might happen in the future, you're distracted, the chance of an error is very high. So let's go and understand a little bit more. In the past, we can divide that into two different aspects. We either end up thinking about things that happened positively in the past. So let's look practically in cricket. We've scored 100 in the first innings. How often does someone not score runs in the second innings? Or somebody plays a great cover drive and the next ball they end up getting out. What has happened? Their mind is thinking about something they did really well in the past, and we're thinking about that. When that happens, we tend to make an error of overconfidence. Right, so overconfidence errors normally is when we're stuck in something we did well in the past. There's a number of others. Or the more pessimistic or doubtful people amongst us, our mind dwells on things that didn't go well in the past. So, for example, a batsman who scored 2 low scores, he's worried about those 2 low scores and he keeps thinking about those 2 low scores. He's dwelling in the past, and that leads to doubt, low confidence. So thinking about stuff that happened well in the past leads to errors of overconfidence. Thinking about things that went wrong in the past leads to errors of underconfidence. Overconfidence errors, big shots trying to be the hero. Low confidence, being withdrawn, being very tentative. Other examples, someone who's dropped a catch. They keep thinking about the drop catch. Your mind gets stuck in the past. You end up being doubtful. You end up being low confidence. You play a bad shot, or maybe someone bowls a bouncer and you didn't handle it very well, and we keep dwelling on that. That is going to reduce our confidence, and as long as we're in doubt, insecure, low confidence, feeling vulnerable space, we've not got a good chance of succeeding. And the reason for that is our mind is stuck, distracted with thoughts about things that happened in the past, either negatively or positively. And again, well, let's go to the other side. Now in the future, we can also break that down. The mind often gets stuck in things that might happen, positive things or good things that might happen in the future. So for example, being the hero, winning the game, hitting the 6 when the team needs it. And what happens then is errors that always happen in this space is premeditation. I've decided I'm going to hit the ball for 4 there, or I've decided I'm going to hit a 6, and regardless of what's bowled, my mind is in the result in the future and of doing something fantastic. We end up premeditating. That is clearly a distraction. But possibly the biggest space where cricketing errors are made is where our minds dwell on things that might go wrong in the future. So for example, I hope I don't get out early. Ball goes up in the air. I hope I don't drop the catch. A bowler standing at the top of his run-up in a critical over. Or I hope I don't get hit for 6. I hope I don't get hit for 4. Or I'm aiming for a Yorker, but I hope I don't miss my Yorker. That is fear of failure. That's one of the fear of failure, I would say, is one of the single biggest obstacles to success in cricket. Fear of failure. Another place of fear is maybe facing a fast bowler. We fear they're going to bowl a bouncer who might get hurt. Fear of getting hurt. So whenever our mind is stuck in the future, and again, important here, it's when the ball is about to be bowled. When the bowler is walking back to his run-up or you're sitting in the dugout, it doesn't matter where your mind is, you can't get out. You only need to be focused when the ball is about to be released, whether you're a batsman or bowler fielder. That is the time we need to get focused. Very important. It doesn't matter how distracted you are when the ball is not in play. You can't get out, you can't get hit for 6, you can't drop a catch. It's perfectly normal to be distracted, and we must allow that. It's when the ball is about to come into play. So it's important for you. If you're somebody, your natural personality, you're someone who tends to be nostalgic, or someone who tends to be sentimental, or you like history and you like to remembering what happened in the past, you will tend, your distraction in the cricket field will naturally be attached to things that happened in the past. If you're someone who's quite future thinking and you're always planning and wanting to know what's going to happen tomorrow, later, same thing, your errors in the cricket field will tend to be distractions related to what might happen in the future. Again, also knowing your own personality. If you're slightly more positive, you're more an optimistic person, you'll tend to make overconfidence errors or premeditation errors in the past or the future. And similarly, if you're someone who tends to be more negative, tends to be more pessimistic, you'll tend then to make errors that are doubt, fear, insecurity, low confidence, or fear-based. And again, that's something that's going to play out throughout your personality. So who you are, and remember I spoke about that earlier down here, it's going to play out in the errors you make on the field. Why am I telling you this? Let's use a practical example that happens in every single international, state, school, club cricket match. Fast bowler bowling, a batsman batting, maybe it's a bit of a bouncy pitch or maybe an uneven pitch. As a batsman, we're worried about getting hit on the head. What happens? We tend to hang back a little bit waiting for the bouncer. The bowler bowls a full straight ball and we're stuck on the back foot. We don't get our weight forward, and either we get our LBW or our hands go out after the ball and we end up getting caught behind, or maybe we hit it into the covers and we get caught cover. Even at international cricket, where the player then sits down with the coach and looks at the video and you can see the technical error that's occurred. The technical error is weight stuck on the back foot, not getting into a strong front foot position, and hands going out. What do coaches and players do? They go into the net and the coach says you need to get into a strong front foot position. But the reality is, yesterday in the nets, I was in a strong front foot position all the time when guys were bowling at 110 k's an hour. The coach starts throwing to you, and from ball one you get into a good position. And you hit 20 balls and you get into the strong front foot position and you think you've sorted the problem out. But was the error in your technique that you didn't get in the strong front foot position? Or was the error that you were scared of getting hit because your mind was stuck in the future, when actually what we needed to do is just watch the ball, and if we watch the ball, the body would naturally react and go forward and play. I'm going to give you a little bit of anatomy here. Is when we're watching the ball and we're focused and we're responding, the reason we practice cover drives over and over and back foot defensive and hooks or whatever shot, we practice it over and over. Each time we do that, we're effectively pressing control save in our body, in our mind, in our muscles. Control save, control save, control save. So in a game, the next time a ball is bowled, if we're watching, the eyes will send the message to the body that the ball is going to be full, and we'll just remember to go forward. That batting, and it's the same with bowling, if a batsman moves around his crease and we adjust at the last minute, that is instinctive. The instinctive brain operates in the moment, and that's somewhere near the back of the head. The basal ganglia is where the memory of how to bat and bowl is stored. In the front of our brain, in our prefrontal cortex, to get technical, which you don't need to remember, is where the thinking happens. Now, if we're thinking about something that went well in the past, or we're thinking about an error we made, or we're thinking about scoring 100 or hitting a 6, or we're worried, we're thinking about getting hit, or we're thinking, I hope I don't get out, I hope I don't disappoint the team, I hope I don't upset the coach. All the activity is in the front of our brain. When the ball is bowled, we don't have access, and the place of the brain that should be operating is the back here, which is the instinctive or reflexive brain that remembers the control save for all those hundreds and thousands of cover drives you played. So thinking is the error when the bowler is about to be bowled, and what I've shown you, I've just mapped out the typical areas where those thinking errors are, because once you identify for yourself where are your errors you made. In all my work with all international and provincial players that I played with, they make no more than 2 mental errors. And the error is almost always either in that place for some batsmen, other errors, batsmen, it's 2 errors in that space, or that space, or that space. So as soon as you understand yourself and your thinking, you'll be able to track where are you naturally going to make your errors. The next piece I want to talk about is, okay, so that happens naturally. It happens to everybody. In fact, as I said earlier, about 97–98% of our waking days is spent thinking about the past, the future. We spend it in a distracted space. We want to be focused. The only people who spend more time focusing and in the flow is people who meditate, people who do yoga, people who do mindfulness type practices, and they're actually training their brain to be able to be focused in the moment. And someone who's meditating, someone who's doing yoga, someone who's mindful is practicing to get in the zone. We spend a lot of time practicing cover drives and slow balls and in-swingers and out-swingers and off-break bowlers. How much time do we practice the experience of just focusing on what's happening in the moment and letting those thoughts, past and future thoughts, just be there in the background as opposed to being in the forefront of our mind?